Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Co-Living Innovators podcast, where we bring co-living founders from around the world, talk to them about their journey, about specific topics which can help us and the upcoming co-living entrepreneurs learn a lot about how to build sustainable and profitable co-living spaces. Today's podcast is brought to you by the Co-Living Incubator program by Out of Co, where the co-living entrepreneurs from all walks of life, right from people who are starting to people who are scaling, can come join and take their co-living ventures to the next level. Today, we have with us Maria from Cactus Co-Living in Canary Islands. A lot of what she does is focused around sustainable practices, community building, local engagement. And we want to keep today's conversation around how digital nomad co-living spaces help local economy. It helps the local community, and in what ways, and what can we do as co-living entrepreneurs to continue to contribute to the local economy by creating great communities. And we'll learn about all of that from Maria. Welcome, Maria. It'll be great if you can take next few minutes to introduce yourself, your co-living, and anything that you want to say.
Hello, thank you very much for the invitation. So, I'm Maria Mayordomo. I'm from the south of Spain, in Canary Island. I'm really original from the village where I opened my first co-living in Tenerife. I left Canary Islands when I was 17 in order to study English. So I have been traveling a lot while studying and working before I knew like this type of digital nomad world. Uh, then I had to come back to Canary Islands because of the lockdown. And this is where when I realized that I was really missing my islands, the culture, the people, the climate that we have here in Canary Islands. We we call it like the term spring. We have normally on average 24, 26 days during the year. Uh, yes, I came back for the lockdown and I started working remotely for an American company in the house that at the moment is a co-living. And I realized like the house was very big and I was really missing my colleagues from my office because I was normally working from an office. And then also realized I didn't want to go back to the city I was living because I was living in mainland Spain in Malaga, and I was realizing I was really enjoying more like living in an island, more in a chill environment with good weather all year round. So then I was like, what can I do, in order not to go back to the office and to a city? So I had this idea together with my family, with my parents, to build a co-living in our home house. But it was a real challenge because at that moment the house was abandoned for 10 years and it was in ruins. So we had to do a huge renovation into the house. Also, we were during lockdown that there was a lot of difficulties of bringing things to Canary Island. We were missing a lot of construction materials. So it was very difficult times for building a co-living in such a place. But we managed in a couple of months like to have at least half of the house ready in order like to give it a try, to see how it's working. We realized like it was a very convenient place for people to come because it's Europe, has weather. We have very good connections with almost all Europe, and also many people knows Canary Islands because of the safety, weather, and so many different activities that you can do outdoor. So yeah, we started like to host in August 2021 our first co-livers in Tenerife in my family house. But I can tell you it was a bit of something strange at the beginning. When you're sharing the house, you have lived almost half of your life with the strangers, no, at the beginning. But it was quite a really nice experience. And recently, at the beginning of this year of 2024, we opened another Coliving in another island that is called La Gomera. It's a much more local experience. It's a minor island of 22,000 inhabitants where the tourism didn't grow much. I wanted also my community to experience something even much more local. And I found this really nice cute hostel in the city center of San Sebastian of La Gomera that we reconverted into a co-living. So we had a lot of renovations, to build common areas, normally hostels have. And in order like a bit to wrap up what we do in terms of our community, we are very specialized on helping our islands, helping local community, local economy, um, and also we are very into sustainable practice. So we always trying to give our best to the place I belong to.
All right. That's quite an interesting story. And I think while you were talking about that, I was just making some notes, right? So I think it was just a coincidence which got you to your own city with lockdown, and then you thought of bringing people together because you were feeling alone away from office. That got you to, that gave you motivation to start something. And I think now from there you have grown, you're on your second location. And doing something in a very small island also takes a lot of courage because you don't know how it'll turn out, whether it'll work, whether it'll not work, whether people will you like accept it well, how will they integrate with the local community, how will locals respond to that? Because a lot of times I've seen and I've listened to stories about co-living spaces not being welcomed by the locals because of various reasons. So let's dive into the economic impact of that digital nomads and digital nomad co-living spaces, because they bring digital nomad to the city or to the rural specific area. What kind of economic impact you have seen the co-living space has made in Canary Islands?
So it's important also for you to know Canary Islands is a 100% tourism. So we survive due to the tourism Canary Island. So, this is a very important aspect first of all for the people that doesn't know Canary Island. So it's very interesting to see also the differences between a normal tourist and a digital nomad, right? Because there's so many good things that a digital nomad can give to a rural area or to a city rather than a tourist cannot. Like, for example, the first thing I realized is they integrate much more with the island, with the people. So they care more about where they are living, temporarily that time. So normally when they arrive, the first thing they ask, for example, for farmers market, they want to buy locally. Super nice approach they have because they want to support local people, and we also incentivize a lot. For example, in our co-livings, we every week we do like a visit to one of our farmers market that is close by. We help them to go because also it's difficult because of the language barrier. So we always go with someone from our team, show them around our farmers, what they can get, they explain them the different products they have, and also we provide them different restaurants, different places that they can go where they can have a local experience. Because in the touristic areas, Tenerife, sometimes you lose the experience of a local place. You know, many times because many of the things are built for tourists. So I realized that if you give them this information, they are super happy to invest in these local businesses, local restaurants, but you need to provide them first the information. Very important because they're new, maybe they don't know. Also, what is really convenient for a place as us. The digital nomads come for longer terms, so this is a really good environmental impact. Also, because in Canary Islands, the only way you can come is by ferry or by flight. Many of our digital nomads come by ferry because maybe they come with their car or they come with their animals. That is a much better way to travel. And also, if they come by flight, it's also a good way. They are a digital nomad because they will come for a long war period. Normally, tourists that come here comes for shorter period, like 3 days to 1 week. That is very short, and brings a lot of traffic, real traffic. So with digital nomads, this reduces a lot. That it's super nice. Normally, also local people are really happy to welcome digital nomads in their event and businesses, as they know they're gonna stay here for some time and they're gonna recommend to other digital nomads. You know, so yeah, I have seen a very good impact from the years I have been here.
All right. I think that's very interesting because I was talking to Gonzalo Hall. He has built with the local government of Madeira Island. He has built a community for digital nomads there, and he was giving me some numbers that the digital nomads have contributed to $50 million in the local economy the last couple of years in Madeira Islands, right? And that kind of money can bring a lot of opportunities for local. It can
Yeah,
help them earn more. It can help them with establishing their businesses, take it to next level, right? I think, and improve the standard of life. So that's the biggest impact any digital nomad co-living brings, like the economic impact that it brings to the space, that it helps the locals improve their quality of life, improve their standard of life, improve their earnings per se. I think, but there is another aspect of it, right? Once initially, this is great because when you're opening new, people also open it with like they welcome you with open arms. They do everything for you, with you, right? And then you co-create this experience for people who are coming in. But the long-term impact of digital nomads that, for example, that we have seen in Lisbon and some other places in Bali, in Southeast Asia, which was the one of the first few digital nomad hubs that came up 10, 15 years back, is that it has led to a lot of gentrification because the real estate prices have gone up and it has become difficult for local because the general cost of living has gone, which has forced the locals to move away from the city centers and move towards the periphery of the city where they can find it more cost effective to live. So how do you think, like, when you are building a digital nomad co-living space, you're building a community, how you can help avoid this, or how you can, what steps we can take which can help us navigate this better?
Yes. So here it's true that we have in Tenerife particularly a bit this problem of there's a lot of population in the last, but it's also true that, for example, where we are in Tenerife, we are in the mountain in a very local area, and most of the co-livings I know, they have built the co-living house in an abandoned house, in a house that was in ruins. So, generally speaking, we can say that we didn't contribute into this gentrification when of like taking house from locals, because most of the co-livings I know here have done it like different as I did. Like they took a family house and they converted into a co-living, or they took an abandoned ruined property and converted into a co-living. That is a bit different maybe than the thing. Like maybe it's a bit different. But it's true that this tends to bring even more digital nomads to the island. And maybe they don't stay in a co-living, but maybe they stay in an apartment that they take from a local. You can say no, but it also helps, I think, the local economy, because these apartments, many of them are from locals. And normally, digital nomads doesn't go like to the most touristic areas because they like to have more local experience. So maybe you don't see them that much, for example, here in maybe the Seattle, right, as America, because mainly tourists.
Tourists.
Maybe you see them more in local areas that there's much more um, houses and apartments for more people, you know. Um, yeah, I think it's a balance, you know. between, you are yes,
No, I was saying, but you mentioned a very good point, right? A lot of times when you're opening a space and if you're redeveloping something, you are actually giving life to something which didn't exist or which was in ruins. That way you
yeah,
are not taking it away from locals, but you're adding to the overall ecosystem, right? Which did happen probably in Lisbon because all the new inventory of real estate was going to these people who were developing co-living spaces or who were digital nomads who were trying to buy the property in the there to kind of stay there. So I think that's a very good point for all our listeners to learn, and any new and upcoming co-living founders, that you can look to improve the locality by redeveloping or renovating something which is not in use, something which is under ruin, something which you can bring back to life, preserving the local culture but still contributing and adding to it, right? So I think that's a great suggestion for anybody looking to start co-living space, is what kind of property you can look for. But I have a question for you, right? You said that you started in the middle of pandemic and then you completed this. One of the questions that we get asked a lot as part of our program and even otherwise is that how do we get the first set of customers? So what growth hacks you did, or how did you get your first few customers during that time where people majorly, there were a lot of travel bans and it was difficult to attract right people and to motivate them to travel. So how did you got your first few customers in 2021?
so there was a couple of aspects. So first, as soon as I decided to do Coliving, I started to contact other Coliving owners in order to get in contact with them and collaboration. And I found that I had really good Coliving owners in the same island, and that they were really open to collaborate. And during that time, we were we were four other Coliving opening at the same time, and we got really together. So this helped us, I think, a lot, that we were doing events together, many things together, because then when you get together with other collaborators, other partners, it gets bigger. The voice gets bigger, and you can promote more the destination or digital nomads together with other co-living space. And I think this helped us a lot. Then another aspect is like we were promoting a lot ourselves, like in Facebook groups from digital nomads. So people there were looking for places that were more open from a COVID point of view, because many places were like more difficult to get, much more difficult to move around. And here it was quite a good time, let's say. Like, we were not having that many restrictions. The island was really needing resume come back. So I was trying a lot on different Facebook groups to promote ourselves and the Canary Island itself, so people were coming back.
Oh, that's interesting because you said three very interesting things. One is because it was already a tourist space, people knew it. The destination was already well known. Second, when you collaborated with other co-living operators, see, co-living is all about it's about community, it's about coming together. And I think that's a beautiful way to bring it up, that you collaborate with your people, see each other as competitors, right? And then a lot of times they end up like either going into price wars or either discounting a lot or doing other things which can become detrimental to a co-living business, because margins are very limited in a co-living business if you are not owning the place, right? If you own the place, then
Yeah.
the margins become different, but if you're not owning it, it becomes very different. So collaborating with co-living operators, great point. Using Facebook to then navigate conversations and talk to people who are interested in coming to this part of Spain. Again, a great tip for upcoming co-living founders. And third is when you bring everybody together, do bigger events, the cost comes down, but it becomes a lot more lucrative because more networking happens. Because if my co-living space is, let's say, 10, 15 rooms, there is a limited number of interactions that can happen. But if I do it with four other
Yeah.
co-living operators, now I have like 50 people who can now talk to each other, network, and that increases the overall value of the place. I think thanks a lot for that insight. I think it's great. And if people start doing it a lot more, I think we as an industry, the co-living industry, will grow sustainably and profitably much faster. All right. So one thing that you during the start of our conversation, you spoke about you do these onboarding, right? When I say onboarding, you get people, you give them all the information, you integrate them into local ecosystem. Can you take us through your process of when somebody, suppose I booked a place and then I'm due to come tomorrow, what happens? Like, what's the experience like? Can you take us through that experience?
Yes, of course. Everything, of course, starts first with our website, right? So we are at the moment specializing a lot, for example, in our blogs, speak a lot about our culture, what we want to achieve as a community, what we want to help our islands with. So I think it's very important first to mention very clearly on websites what are your goals, your goals, your mission, what you're doing at the moment, because that filtrates a lot the type of client that you're gonna have, right? Because someone that maybe is in digital nomad but is more in party and want to collaborate that much with us in the local aspect, then they won't come, because they will see we're not party oriented. So I think that's the first most important thing, to really be sure what you put on your website. Then people through our website, then I send them always, for example, every month we send a newsletter to every person that is in our community. Even though they didn't arrive, we already start sending them newsletters about things that are coming up in the island, different sustainable practices that we are trying to do or that we're doing, interviews of our residents. So we bring a lot of, we give a lot of information already of what we do, who we are, who we have in our co-living houses. So then the people before coming also they can see our culture. Then also we share our social medias before they arrive, so they can follow us on our stories, so our daily stories, so they see what we are doing daily basis, which kind of activities. For example, we like to do mountain cleanups. Like for example, next month we're doing reforestation, so we're helping a local organization to reforestate a mountain here. So we want people that are into, so if they see this, they realize, okay, this is the place I want to go. So for me, it's very important they start to follow us before they arrive. And then some days before their arrival, I send them like a guidebook of with different information of our community, like rules of the house, of the community itself. And also I give them a lot of very interesting tips of our both islands, Tenerife and La Gomera. I recommend them so many local businesses, farmers, and then I give them there the different activities they can do. So then when they come, they are already integrated in what we do, so it's easier than move on board. In
Okay, that's a That's a quite a bit of an onboarding process, but I think I'll just try and summarize this so that our audience can take action items to it. First of all, it's about establishing yourself, your values as a brand on your website. You do this via content, via showcasing what are your values, what do you want as a community, what are you trying to achieve, so that when an end user is coming up, they align with your approach, your values, and it becomes easier for them to understand that what do you stand for. I think that's point number one. Even before somebody is interested in your space, they should know who you are and what you stand for. And it's very, very important for you to have that, because the first touch point any end user will have, any resident will have, a potential resident will be with your website, right? Either they'll search on Google, they'll go on social media. So it's all about that content. So I think that's point number one. Second is, then before even them coming, you share your socials so that they can follow your daily activities, what all activities you're doing. So they start feeling connected with you, that, okay, or they are doing this, they're doing this cleanup, they're doing this with that local organization. So that kind of brings in the sense of responsibility into them even before they end up in your space, which is also great. And then it's about when they land, you give them a guide which is curated specifically by you on the local businesses, on everything local that they can do and experience. And then you have some kind of a partnership that, okay, when you introduce them, they probably may get some kind of a discount, or at least they get they get better services, right? So on one end, it helps the local businesses. On the other hand, it gives enough options to a potential resident, or now a resident who is moving in, to experience the local life, the culture and everything. And then once they come in, then you kind of talk to them, you help them with anything that they need, and then slowly they become part of the community, and then they start taking initiatives around it, right? So I think that's a very beautiful way. Like, it's post led, it's very personal, it's out there, and people generally connect with you as a founder a lot more if you try and put it out in a systematic way, which you have beautifully explained. So thank you for that. Right. So let's talk about, we've been talking about community, right? So let's deep dive into community a bit, because you are a strong advocate of building great communities within the co-living spaces. So uh, why why do you think it is important to build a sense of community in digital nomads? Why do you think it's valuable for digital nomads to feel as part of community or something big? Do you kind of have any insights or have any kind of experiences that you can share with us?
So I didn't. If you can repeat me the question, I didn't understand very
Sure.
good.
So what I'm trying to ask is, you focus a lot on community building in your co-living space. Why do you think it is important to build a sense of community among digital nomads?
So I think the community in Coliving is the most important part, and in order to build community, I think there's two very big aspects to think of. First, is how we have built the common areas, because a co-living without common areas won't be working. We need to have the common living rooms, co-workings, rooftop, for example, big kitchens, because those are the first places where people congregate, right? And then the second is the activity, you know? So we try, for example, with our community manager, because we have a community manager in each co-living, at least every day to have an activity, even though it's a small activity, something together, you know? It can be a Skillshare, or it can be a bigger activity like a hike, but we try at least every day to have something in order to bring everyone together in the house. Sometimes it's not easy, but that's why we do house meetings, in order to see what people want to do, in order to create things together.
All right. So one thing that you spoke about right now is, because digital, like what I kind of interpreted out of your conversation was, because digital nomad travels a lot of times they are mentally drained. So So they need a sense of home whenever they are coming to a co-living space. And if you build the right community with the right mindset and right values, it can go a long way in that digital nomad becoming a fan for life and becoming your vocal proponent where he talks about you even when he's not living with you. And that slowly builds a lot more of your brand. So from a brand and the marketing perspective, it's important, but from otherwise, from a mental well-being, from them feeling part of the community, I think that's also very important because then it feels different than a hostel or a hotel, right? Otherwise, it's just another place to stay if there is no community. I think, yeah, I agree to you. And you take a very personal approach to community building. I think it's amazing how you continuously keep doing it. And we can learn a lot from that because if like when founder does it, obviously it's special, but even when you grow, now you have your second space. But as long as your values and ethos are transferred to the next host who is hosting somebody who is coming there, I think it can be productized. We can create processes around building a great community, even as we start growing to multiple locations. Yeah, I think that's great. I also want to touch upon another aspect, right? The environmental aspect of the social responsibility or the environmental impact. How you bring that into the mix of things that you do. Can you explain your approach to how do you contribute to the environment? How do you contribute socially to the local communities?
Yes. So, for example, the first thing is when we did the renovations of the house, we thought a lot about this, you know? So even though, for example, when we first did the first renovation, we were not having found this in order to put solar panels, but we wanted to do this in the future, right? I was very sure that I wanted to do this because Canary Islands was done every day. So I saved a space where I knew I was gonna put there my solar panel. Then when I got the money to do it, I did. So it's very important to have this approach since the beginning because maybe you cannot do it at that moment, but you need to have a plan, you know? So we take a lot of energy from sun, like around 80% of the energy we consume from sun in Tenerife. In La Gomera still we don't, but in Tenerife, yes. Then the water in Tenerife is warmed up also new uh, hot air technique that reduces around 70% of the electricity consumption. Also, we recently changed that. For example, in our family dinners, we always give a small speech to our guests that Canary Islands is very dry, have a lot of lack of water. So that's why we set up like kind of a bowl with water where we rinse our plate and then we put it in the bush. So then people understand that not because we are 20, 25, we're gonna have the tap open with water flowing. Like, no. So many people, as they are very used to in their country to have a lot of water, they don't see the problems that maybe other areas have. You know, so it's very important in the house meetings. So let them know which are the environmental problems that we are facing, you know, so they understand, and then we expose them the different techniques that we use in order to help. And then also outside of the house, let's say, we try to do many activities to support our island. Like, for example, we try to do once every couple of months a cleanup, one time beach with local organizations. Next month, we're doing a reforestation. So we help in our mountains. We also try to collaborate with many local businesses to this type of activities. Uh, and we always try to find events that supports our island. You know, like different events that the 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 money that they get goes back for our local people. You know, but because this is normally what cares more to me. Because I'm from here and I really see how local people many times are behind the people that come from outside, as maybe our education or our English is not as good, because we don't have the same resources. So we always try to back as that. And also another very important aspect that we're gonna start trying now soon in La Gomera. We're gonna start trying our local people from the village to start joining the skill sharings, to start joining our yoga activities, because many young people in Canary Islands, they don't speak English, as it happened to me. I learned English when I was 18 years old. So I would like also the young people to have the opportunity to at least practice. We did some trials here in Tenerife with some local people, and they were super happy. Also to see how we can live different as we do here. We just live a tourist here, and there's other ways. And digital nomads can teach us so much about that. So they can see that with a computer, you can work from other countries and you can still live in your, and in the school, they don't teach us these things, and I think us as a community, we can give back a lot to the local young people like this.
I really like your passion to bringing in the local community into the whole mix and continuously involving them. I also run a co-living space in India. It's called Nomad Gaon. It's also for digital nomads. We run skill share sessions for locals. What we do is we help them improve their Airbnb listings. We get them into batches because that whole area, similar to yours, is focused on tourism. So every house has an Airbnb and it's listed there. A lot of times they just list something
Okay.
and they don't get enough business. So we actually teach them. It's our competition, but we still teach them that how to create better listings. We take photographs for them. We upload them. We tell them how to build their listings, how to build their services. And it has been an amazing journey. The kind of love that we have received from locals, and even during the pandemic time, I think it was seriously amazing. We never thought we will get this kind of love from the locals. But yeah, I think I can totally relate to it because I've kind of seen it happening. And your English is wonderful. I really love you take a lot of time and the whatever you have spoken today, I think is a whole lot of value. These 40 minutes are really can help anybody who wants to start a digital nomad co-living space to understand the thought process behind it, why we are doing what we are doing, building a great culture, integrating the local economy, building a great community. And I think bringing it all together to kind of work so that it works like four wheels of a car in the same direction with the same aim so that we continuously move forward. So I think thanks. The last thing that I want to touch upon is that I always ask all of our guests is, what are your top three advices for the upcoming co-living entrepreneurs who want to start digital nomad co-living spaces? The top three advices that you would like to share.
Yes, the first one is an advice my dad gave to me when I was doubting if to do it or not. Um, he told me like, Maria, you can always try, because I was working for a company. You can always try it, and if it doesn't work, there will be always a company that will hire, you know. And
Right.
and the sentence that he used to tell me is, the one that doesn't risk doesn't win, and it really helped me a lot to decide myself. Okay, I want. Um, then another advice I will give is really focus on your community in something you like, you know, because it's gonna be your culture, you're gonna be all day with this community, with these people, and you really need to know it something that you like. I really like to help my island, my local people. So I really wanted to be focused on this. So choose something that you really like on your focus. Then a third advice I would give is something I already said. Take if you don't have a house to do a co-living and you're looking for something, take something that it's, for example, not in use, in ruins, or the family house that is not in use. So then you help, you help the local people, and they're trying to take in something from them. This help us a lot in Canary Islands because we have a lot of type of problem with people coming from outside buying properties from locals. And as we had this approach, I realized local people had integrated us much more as we had reconverted places that have been abandoned for many, many, many years.
With that, I think that's a great suggestion and an insight for anybody who is looking to start a co-living space for digital nomads. Thanks, Maria. Thanks for taking out time and talking to us today. I will put Maria's LinkedIn link and Cactus Co-Living's website in the description. You can go check them out. If you are around Canary Islands, please go and visit them. You can always reach out to Maria on LinkedIn. She has been super responsive. One thing that I would like to say all the listeners that I didn't feel like this was our first conversation. We were talking for the first time, but I felt that a lot of times you were speaking out my mind. I've been in the industry for the last 10 years. I've done an urban co-living, a student co-living, and a digital nomad co-living. I've worked with a lot of brands, but the clarity that you have with your mission and vision, that what you want to achieve and how you want to do it, it's amazing. So keep doing good work. We'll cross our roads again very, very soon. And thanks a lot for taking out time and talking to me today.
Thank you very much for the invitation. Thank you.
All right, guys, I'll see you in the next one.
Industry-wide change is a collective dream. Collaboration, cooperation, that's our theme. From multi-generational homes to global scenes, we shape the future, living out our means. Each story unfolds with the art of code, lessons in the lows, wisdom untold. Ask your questions, join the conversation. Together we build a resilient foundation. Resilience, innovation, the keys to thrive in the Coliving movement. We come alive, from struggles to triumphs, we pave the way. In our global article community, we find the sway.